I saw a cartoon once. It showed an alien inside one of those souvenir shops in New York City. You know, the kind that lures customers inside with offers of 5 t-shirts for $10, each one a variation of the same iconic I Heart New York message. Puzzled by the assortment of pro-New York and American flag merchandise, the alien turns to the cashier and asks, "Don't you have anything that just says Earth?" And it got me thinking, how primitive we might seem in the ways we divide ourselves, as if by ancient tribal custom, erecting arbitrary borders despite being part of the same society. Because to this alien, we are all the same. After all, we all come from the same place. Not that there's anything wrong with having pride in your particular corner of the planet. It's something we do every time we root for our country in the Olympic Games or during the World Cup. But pride and patriotism are slippery slopes. And when they morph into their most extreme form, nationalism, we have a problem. Where the patriot believes their country is great, the nationalist believes their country is better than any other. And the ethnic nationalist has very strong opinions on who does and doesn't belong. Like Hungary's prime minister, Viktor Orban, leader of the anti-immigrant Fidesz party, who erected a fence to prevent Serbian and Croatian immigrants. Yet Germans, Dutch, and French were all welcome. They were seen as less foreign, and therefore less threatening. Xenophobia is also on the rise in Italy, France, and Scandinavia. But perhaps most disturbing was our own former president's position. In his speech in front of the UN, Donald Trump began by saying, "The future of the world is not held by globalists. It's held by patriots." While our country was indeed founded upon a Declaration of Independence, Trump's statement came at a time when that was the last thing the world needed to hear. Now, amidst a global pandemic, the painful acknowledgement of systemic racism, and attacks on democracy all the way from Myanmar to our very own capital, we must find common ground on our shared planet. So where do we begin? We start by healing the divisions within our own borders. While many of us have been busy putting America first, it seems as though we have lost sight of what it truly means to be an American. As a country initially and increasingly comprised of immigrants, we should all be natural proponents of global acceptance. As Herman Melville stated in his semi-autobiographical Redburn, the manner in which this country was settled should forever extinguish the prejudice of national dislike. You cannot spill a drop of American blood without spilling the blood of the whole world. Now, this is something we see nearly every time somebody takes an Ancestry DNA test. These tests are pretty simple. You just spit, seal, and send. 6 weeks later, you receive your results in the form of a pie chart, showing your ethnic compositions divided into neat little portions, alongside a list of relatives you probably never knew existed. Since their debut, leading test kit producers such as 23andMe and Ancestry DNA have sold over 30 million kits. Interestingly, sales peak every year at around Thanksgiving. So basically, at one of the most celebrated and uniquely American holidays, everybody is busy trying to trace their outside origins. Maybe it's because we just want to find out which side of the table to sit on, Pilgrims or Native Americans. Or perhaps we're hoping to add more chairs to that table to accommodate all of the new cousins we've discovered. Or if you're like my family, it calls into question which holidays you should be celebrating in the first place. Every year, my family and I gather at my Aunt Stephanie's house for Thanksgiving and a month later for Christmas Eve. 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, my aunt, who had been raised to believe she was a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, or WASP, announced that she is in fact 35% European Jewish, a fact that thrilled her, since for most of her life, all of her friends had been Jewish. She was so excited, she had me seriously wondering if I would be back for Christmas Eve. My aunt was also Scandinavian and Spanish, but found these less remarkable. You see, people show a tendency to embrace certain ethnicities and reject others. It's what sociologist Matthew Huey refers to as color capital, or as professor of sociology, Dr. Wendy Roth explains, a connection to something more interesting or exotic than just white. She goes on to say that multiraciality can offer a certain cultural cachet. On the opposite side of that spectrum, from those seeking color cred, are those who support egregious movements such as white nationalism. They pervert their test results to justify a racist agenda. To them, the only true Americans are not only white, but are of European descent and Christian. So not my Aunt Stephanie. In his book, Post-Ethnic America, David Hollinger warns us that we must fight against a narrowly ethnic nationalism and against the idea that some Americans are more American than others. In actuality, we are all a lot more alike than we realize. In fact, there are no two people on the planet that are more than 0.1% genetically distinct. That means that all people share 99.9% of the exact same DNA. It's what makes us all human. So while it's important for us to understand and embrace our differences, it is also vital that we acknowledge our commonalities. Health policy expert Timothy Caulfield asserts that these DNA tests are inviting us to think about race and ethnicity as biological fact, making it much easier for us to accept racism and prejudicial thinking. So if you've already purchased a DNA kit or thinking about taking the test, ask yourself, why do I even give a spit? After that Thanksgiving, with the big reveal, my family and I all decided to purchase DNA test kits for Christmas. I found out that I am Jewish and German, Northern Irish, and Middle Eastern. So I have multiple holy wars going on within me. Yet I'm still wholly American. Yet non-hyphenated American does not appear on my pie chart or on anybody else's. That's because American is not actually an ethnicity. It's an ideal. As Barack Obama stated in his inaugural address, what binds this nation together is not the colors of our skins or the origins of our names. What makes us exceptional, what makes us American, is our allegiance to an idea. And yet, at a time so surreal that the word unprecedented has ironically become banal, we still remain so separated. With each new strain of COVID that we name after its place of origin, the UK strain, the South African strain, we are no better than when Donald Trump pointed his finger at the China virus. So what will it take for us to put aside our tribal associations, our ethnic prejudices, and our national agendas? Did we really have to wait for aliens like the one I mentioned earlier in that cartoon to land on Earth for us to unite as one people? It is our duty, not just as Americans, but as citizens of the world, to help our planet get back on the right path. That way, when an alien finally does wander into one of our souvenir shops, there will be plenty of I Heart Earth shirts waiting for him. And they will come in lots of sizes and lots of colors, just like us. Thank you.